Hi, my name is Matthew Bellisario. Thanks for coming by the BellisarioSonic YouTube channel from the heart of the Deep South on the outskirts of Birmingham, Alabama, where we talk about music, records, do record reviews, interviews, and more. Today, a record review. I'm really excited to be bringing you the new album by Yazz Ahmed, A Paradise in the Hold, 2025 release. It's only been out for a couple of weeks. I thank Thomas for recommending Yazz's albums, and I've got all of other three of her albums sitting over here, which I'll refer to as we go through this video. But I'll be playing music from this album, which is a beautiful record, very well recorded. It sounds fantastic. I've listened to the first album, the first record all the way through, and have the second record sitting here. So I'm going to play tunes from both of these, this 2 LP set today, and I'll be talking about the background to this record, which I love to do. I love to do research on the musicians that make these wonderful albums. And also, this is an interesting one because this is kind of an infusion of Arabian music and jazz. And I really haven't heard a whole lot of music like this. And I went online and did some, investigation, and there are other artists that have done things like this, but hers is definitely unique. And she is a British Bahraini musician, and so she has a rich heritage coming from the Kingdom of Bahrain, which I'm going to talk about because I was really interested in the musical sounds that I heard on this record. And you have a lot of different instruments on here, a lot of different musicians. She says she dives much deeper into her dual heritage on this album. And so she draws from traditional music and stories from her childhood home. She said she writes for voice for the first time on this record. She writes the lyrics in English and then translates them to Arabic for the different vocalists on this album. She said they're inspired by Bahraini wedding poems and pearl divers, which we'll find out that Bahrain is known for its pearl fisheries. But this is a very rich album, a lot of cool textures, great performances, and I think you guys are really going to dig this. Now, I didn't know a whole lot about the Kingdom of Bahrain, and I wanted to do just a brief just talk about it briefly because it does relate to what you hear on this album. And so I want to talk about the musical heritage from this area. So the Kingdom of Bahrain, if you don't know, is an island country situated on the Persian Gulf and consists of a small archipelago made of 50 natural islands and 33 artificial islands. I had no idea. And it's centered on the main island of Bahrain, which makes up about 83% of the country's landmass. It sits between Qatar and the northeast coast of Saudi Arabia, and there's a causeway that connects it to Saudi Arabia called the King Fahd Causeway. And of course, Bahrain was under British rule for some time. Some archaeologists claim that this is the ancient site of the Dilmun civilization, and it's been known throughout the world for its pearl fisheries, which have been considered the best around the globe. So Bahrain, I didn't know what the name was, so it's kind of interesting. Bahrain is the dual form of the Arabic word bar, meaning literally sea. And so Al Bahrain originally means to seas. Now, there's a certain musical tradition that comes from this area. The music lineage of Bahrain is part of the Persian Gulf folk traditions, and alongside Kuwait, it's known for sawt music, which I'd never heard of before, S-A-W-T. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. Sawt is a form of urban music originally performed on the oud, and percussion instruments like the mirawaz and other stringed instruments such as the violin, which later were integrated into these bluesy musical arrangements, if you will, influenced by African, Indian, and Persian musical traditions. And it also contains, this type of music contains a rhythmic type of clapping called the sherbak, which means intertwined. And these claps are usually performed by the spectators who are standing around watching the musical performance. The poetry used in sawt is usually classic Arabic poetry or Kamini poetry with scales characteristic of ancient Yemeni poets. Most Arabic and Levantine sawts end in a musical fragment called the tashi. I'm hoping again I'm pronouncing these right, which is the beginning or end of the sawt and can be lyrical or musical. There are also improvised rhythms with this type of music, And there's also another type of music called the Khaliji, which is a style of Persian Gulf area folk music as well, played in Bahrain with polyrhythms. And you're going to hear all that kind of stuff on this album. So that's why I kind of wanted to, I was curious about it, so I wanted to share that with you guys. Let's talk a little bit about Yazz's bios. I always like to dig into their musical journey a bit. Hopefully, maybe she can come on the channel. I'd love to talk to her about this record. But she was born in London in 1983 to a British mother and a Bahraini father. She spent her childhood in Bahrain before returning to London at the age of 9. She started playing the trumpet at an early age, and this was apparently encouraged by her maternal grandfather, who was also a jazz trumpet player. Yazz completed a master's degree at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London. Her self-released album called Finding My Way Home, which I have sitting over here, which I'll also do a review on her other records coming up. I wanted to do this one here because it's her latest one, so I figured I'd start there. This came out in 2011 and demonstrated her first explorations of Arabic music. And this introduced her as an innovative performer and composer, and Jazzwise magazine said she was one to watch. 2017, she released her second album called La Sabatus, which earned her international recognition and was named Album of the Year by The Wire, ranked 18th in Bandcamp's top 100 albums that year. Previously, during her year as a composer at the LSO Sound Club, she had a quarter-tone flugelhorn specially made to allow her to play these Arabic scales, which I also find fascinating. Her 2019 album called Polyhymnia, which is here, is built on her growing reputation as a composer, strong individual voice, and a figure at the heart of the exciting UK scene. Evolving from a performance on the International Women's Day in 2015, it was commissioned by Tomorrow's Warriors. The music takes the form of a suite written in celebration of courageous and inspiring women. A lot of musicians on that record, I think over 25 musicians on here. This one also has a pretty impressive list of musicians and a lot of really cool instruments, which you're going to hear just in a moment, I promise. Over the last decade, she has led her ensembles in performances across the world, including the UK, Europe, Algeria, Bahrain, Beirut, Kuwait, Tunisia, Ukraine, USA, and Canada, and she's done a lot of festivals. And she's performed with bands such as Radiohead, Transglobal Underground, Lee Scratch Perry, and others. This album, she said, is, again, diving deeper into her cultural identity. She says, whereas she explored Arabian music more generally with her earlier material, this release is more explicitly linked to her homeland. She says, if my first album, 2011's Finding My Way Home, represents the first steps on this path, then A Paradise in the Hold here, she says, I've arrived at a deeper understanding of how my British and Bahraini heritage can coexist in personal as well as musical terms. Ahmed began working on this record back in 2014 on a research trip in Bahrain during her Jazz Lines fellowship. So she said she went to bookstores and looked for poems and other lyrical inspiration for this record. Many came from wedding songs. She says deepening her connection to the tradition, her grandfather even sang her some songs from his own wedding day. So that research trip ended up yielding a 90-minute suite called Alan al-Siduri, which she performed the following year, both in the UK and Bahrain. It's named for the character Siduri from Gilgamesh, a wise woman who lives on an island of absolute beauty, which some scholars have suggested may have been Bahrain. So she reworked the suite's main theme into the album opener, She Stands on the Shore, which we're going to hear right now. So I'm going to spin that for you, and let's have a listen. We're going to listen to quite a few songs across these couple of LPs. And this is beautifully recorded. She Stands on the Shore, just over 5 minutes. A lot of rich textures here, a really beautiful production, very warm recording, nice depth, beautiful soundstage. I'm very impressed with it. of different vocalists, several vocalists on this record as well. Like this cover too. Trumpets over here to the right. Really nice resonant percussion and drum sounds. I think that, you know, I was listening to this in the car streaming the other day, and it's such a great listen all the way through. It's definitely one of these albums that demands kind of almost to be listened all the way through, in my opinion. It just kind of tells a story, takes you on a voyage, musical voyage, if you will. So although I'd love to play the whole thing through for you, I'm gonna obviously have to break it up. This one's called The Paradise in the Hold. So I'll let some of this play before I flip it over. And we'll listen to a tune called Her Light, which is a little more upbeat. Whereas I think this first side of the record is kind of more laid back, rich textures, cool rhythms, a lot of different layers, things going on. Pretty cool stuff, very beautiful. Again, this was recorded they did a really good job on engineering this, mixing it, mastering it for vinyl. It sounds fantastic. Hear all those all the detail. looking for audiophile sound quality, you definitely got it here. Vibes over here. All the tunes on here are, for the most part, like 5 minutes to over 10 minutes. So definitely a lot going on. Beautiful playing. Love her trumpet sound. She plays trumpet and flugelhorn on this album. A lot of different instruments, which makes it really interesting. You know, you have a bass clarinet there, guitar was in there, layered in there, the vibes. hear those claps and percussion and everything sounds so lively and resonant. Really just surround you. Let the rest of this song play out. Then I'm going to flip it over. We'll listen to Her Light. So I'm going to do is go ahead and bring this down. We're going to flip it over. My only criticism, I would love to have seen this be a gatefold and or have some kind of an insert in it that would give you some information on that. That's really my only criticism. Obviously, you can go online and find the information about this album, but it would have been nice to have, I think, either a gatefold or an insert. So anyway, all right, let's go ahead and flip it over and let's take a listen to track 1 on side B, and then we'll have a listen to a track off C and D as well before we close out the video. So I appreciate you guys hanging out and giving, again, new music a chance. Something you may never have heard before. Her Light, a little bit more up tempo. So it sounds like a bass clarinet maybe there. Vocals sound wonderful. Really nice tonal balance. You hear those highs all the way down to the lows, mids, or everything sounds really nice and warm. Very three-dimensional. Love the sound of those drums. The trumpet sounds beautiful. Now this one, her horns across both speakers, and at times it seems like it moves a little bit. Really cool bass sound there with those fives. Yeah, nice. Those pipes sound three-dimensional. Let's bring it down and put on the second record. So far, just fantastic sounding. If you're, into high quality sounding recordings, this sounds wonderful. So playing this on the Fluence RT85 with the Ortophon Blue, going through my Vincent Audio Faux 701 preamp, and then going into my Yamaha HS8 speakers for those interested in the gear. All right, we'll put on Dancing Barefoot, and then we'll flip it over and close out the video. Again, appreciate you guys hanging out. I love playing these records for you guys. This one's called Dancing Barefoot, about a runaway bride, love loss, and new beginnings and newfound freedom. There's your record, first record. Static sleeves, so, and again, it does come in just a single album jacket. I will review these other 3 records of hers. This is her first one. Again, this is her second one, and her third one. So some other interesting things about this album is she used some field recordings that she used to form loops and patterns. So you hear that mixed in these textures here on this record, which makes it very interesting. And me, I'm not a huge fan of a ton of electronics being used in music just personally, but it's done so beautifully here and done integrated so well with everything else that you know, you really can't even tell where it's at a lot of times. What's, you know. This is definitely one of these records you're going to want to listen to over and over again. It's so rich, and again, you sit back and just take it in. A lot of time must have went into composing these and, you know, putting all these parts together and figuring out what instruments you want where and all this kind of stuff. It's very impressive. Off of those drums there. So I'm going to let this Into the Night play, and then I'm going to let some of the next tune play, called Though My Eyes Go to Sleep, My Heart Does Not Forget You. So here you can hear some of those cool rhythms. It sounds like you're sitting right in the drum circle. Horns sound beautiful. Just a really warm, rich sound. Here's some of the electronic. So though my eyes go to sleep, my heart does not forget is adapted the words from Pearl Diver standard. So again, going back to that Bahraini heritage. All right, so I'm gonna bring it down. I'd love to just play the whole thing for you guys. I know we're about 45 minutes, so I'm gonna bring this down, flip it over, and we'll close out on side D. It's awesome. This sounds fantastic. Very cool. I'm really digging this. This is a really interesting album, so as all of these are, but this is definitely worth picking up if you want to get something a little different. Let's close out on this song here. Side D, To the Lonely Sea. Appreciate you guys hanging out and checking out this album with me. Yazz Ahmed. Paradise in the Hold. If you guys missed my review of this album sitting behind me, Benito Gonzalez, Sing to the World, was the last review I did. Go check that out. That is a freaking awesome album. Got other stuff coming up as well. Some other albums. I will be doing these other Yazz Ahmed albums. I've got a couple of CD reviews I want to do. Some fantastic albums. Couple of new jazz albums. I'll be doing the Branford Marsalis new album. It just came out on Blue Note. Stay tuned for that on Friday. That will be coming your way. Conversation I had with Elam Friedlander on this album, go back and check that out from this past Sunday. Wonderful 1-hour conversation with him. A lot of fun talking to him, so go check that out. Hopefully a new conversation coming your way on Sunday, I hope. Definitely has a modern mix sound to it. So you have a lot of textures and effects. There's some effects in there too. You've got kind of a really, maybe kind of a warm reverb sound, you know, that you hear. It sounds very beautiful. They did a really good job with it. Very well crafted, I would say. Folks, I think I've given you a pretty good listen here. Yazz Ahmed's A Paradise in the Hold. Go check it out. Listen to the rest of the album online and go pick it up on vinyl. Add it to your collection. Wonderful audiophile sound. Cool composition. Something I think you're going to enjoy for many years. You'll be able to put this on and listen to it. And again, I think it's best listened to all the way through. Just gives you that, like you're getting on a boat and journeying across this musical landscape that's just very engaging, very beautiful, well-crafted album. So happy listening, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.